All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 34th episode of, I guess I shouldn't say good evening, because I have no idea what time any of you watch. And yet, I could probably take a look at the data and see exactly when you're all watching. Either way, whatever time of day it is for you, I'm System Chalk. It is the 34th episode of our first run through Book of Hours as a YouTube series. And I do a little. This was going to happen inevitably, right? I would get to a point where I would commit a lesson. In fact, what did I get for that? Yes, this is how I got my shaft. In fact, if I recall correctly, there was no other way for me to get that shaft. So that was worth it for sure. But again, you're always going to feel, oh, if only I just waited that one moment. But yeah, so we're in this really nice period where we've sort of worked out all of the, actually, come to think of it, I might want to do something to boost that core as well. I just don't remember which element or which skill I committed for it. Well, it would probably be a language. Yeah, crack track. Oh, yes, I think I went over this. So the preservation stuff, I believe, is down in the dawn period stuff. So maybe that there is there's an evolution that I can do elsewhere. But yeah, we're not going to boost up that core for a while. Anyways, yeah, so we've committed a bunch of stuff to the Tree of Wisdoms. I'm very happy with where we are in terms of the overall playthrough, and at the moment we're really just sort of digesting a lot of the implications of those moves. So what I mean by that is when I take a look at what I can read, so we've got the Leonine Tantra, we've got the Annals of St. Brendan's. I don't think Instruments of the Heart is available to me. We've got 5 with the core. Well, I guess we go up to 9. Yeah, actually, come to think of it, so the Instruments of the Heart with a Storm, we're actually in good shape there. I believe, even though, so this is a Hanavek text, which does give me scale, but I don't believe I have 8 scale to throw at this. Hill and Hollow isn't scale primary. But yeah, all told, we're in pretty good shape as far as the books that we can read go. And then of course the other thing is that we have a bunch of different inks. There's other parts of the house that I can unlock. There are a number of different things that I can do to get even more books. But like right now, I've got at minimum 3 texts that I can read without too much effort. Depending on how the days go, I can also probably access a few others. I should maybe take a closer look at maybe some of these other texts, which used to be marginal ones, because there are a few cases now where... so like this is a good example here. The Tantra of Worms, I should be able to read if I can read this text, because of the... basically... The only difference there is the language, which I get as a bonus. I would... oh no, actually, Demotu Corporum Veditorum we probably can't read. But yeah, in any case, at minimum... Well, wait, let's say just through the sheer passage of time, 2 more texts, full stop. And then on top of that, whatever else the days provide for us. I think it may be a good idea for us to actually see what the weather is before we commit to anything. Because if we wind up with like hail or snow, that's going to change. Okay, rain. So this would actually be a good time for me to consider something like the Green Jasper Tablet. So just as a, now I suspect probably what I would really want to do is open up this chamber first. But as a hypothetical, let's say that I read the Green Jasper Tablet. So we would have the 2 nectar from the crack track. We would use health with that one. So we've got 3. Drums and dances would... Oh, that drums and dances does have nectar. Not a lot, but... Okay, so if that is the case, so it would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with a... Yeah. So this is the real shame about this one. So if I were to go... I think this is where we run into that problem where I can bring in the heart, the drums and dances, but the earth signs cut out. So this is really one of these cases where if I wanted to take advantage of the rain, I would have needed to have unlocked the nectar desk. And again, I can try a couple of things. So like I could do the, I could try and get some nectar from the impulse. But overall, we're risking too much to try and make one weather event, which isn't that uncommon, kind of work for us. So instead, let's think about some of the other things that I can do. So let's start by reading some more texts. We've gotten out of a Numa recently, so I should be able to afford to basically just do a little bit more. I can't recall. I probably need a contradiction before I go too much further. Yeah, so we can go up to 6 with the Cucurbit Barrette, but we come up short. Okay, well that's fine because we know how to get one of those. Now the winter is a little bit more tricky for me here. There's a couple of ways that I can approach this. So I could take oh, actually, if sights and... No, I've got to have a better winter now. I don't remember which one. Maybe Ragged Crossroads? No? Rhyme and Remembrance. Okay. So we're one short with Rhyme and Remembrance. On its own. So I could do Rhyme and Remembrance and the Whist, and that would be able, that would let me read the relevant text here. The drawback is that I'm not able to use Mr. Kill for the either the Despoiled Laboratory or to try and open up the Echoing Chamber. And you know what? I think I'll live with that. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do my usual gardening. So, oh no! That's a real shame. I believe there was some talk of creating an undo button for situations like that, but this won't be too long. So Sickle and Eclipse, I think I committed I was going to bring up to 4. Edicts Liminal is going to be a 3. It's not going to be the same order as last time, but... So unless there's a language that's snuck through, we're in okay shape. Few flowers flourish in the depths of winter. Blue Crown is one of those few. Now, if I want, I could try and do something else with the core, but in this case, I actually don't mind doing all of this gardening, so... Pluck the petals of the Lenten Rose. I could in fact do this with the other side of the garden as well. One reason for focusing on Blue Crown so much is that we are eventually going to be turning that into Solomon's Preparation. Let's wait a little while before we do any more of that. And I think I am going to commit to reading the Annals of St. Brendan. So over 100 years of the Abbey's annals from 1230 to 1350. So for that, we take the whist, and we will attach Rhyme and Remembrance. So Winter, a conclusion. I can master this mystery. Now we were going to use the Arab. We needed a memory of conflict. So one thing for me to remember is that I do still want to try and level up a few of these skills. So in this case, I want Knock, Moth, Edge, and Moon available to me. There's only one Moon that I have. Although let's move that Tryst down. So these are the these are the ones I should see as available for sort of playing with the memories and cataloging. I guess let's make the Fet the one that I'll commit the Edicts liminal for. Okay, so let's start. We'll take the Faust and we'll get the contradiction. Oh yeah, so the last thing I should say is, do I want to hire someone or otherwise try and use someone to do I want to bring in Mrs. Kill for memories or something like that, because that would be a good use for the Arab here. Well, I guess with Sickle and Eclipse, okay, so if Edicts Liminal is definitely covered more than a few times over. So Sickle and Eclipse needs Moon and Edge. Edicts Liminal needs Knock or Moth, and we've got Moth through Tryst, Fet, and Shapt. So clearly we don't need it all three ways. So maybe we free up the Shapt. So that's true. Let's say we use the Fet. Move the Shapt up. Yeah, okay, so I'm actually going to bring in Mrs. Kill because she will give me access to memories. Oh, nope, I messed that up. Because I'm going to need... I'm also going to need one of these for... Yeah, so... This is going to be used for a... Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go make this a little less complicated. So I was just thinking, I could try and bring Mrs. Kill in for Source of Memories. The drawback there is that I would need... Basically, I wouldn't be able to get the 2 levels of Sickle and Eclipse all at once, because I'm going to use this to read a text. So let's start with the Faust. And... those indignities perpetrated by the deceitful fraternity of Obliviates. As much as I would love to read that again, I'm going to leave that aside. Okay, and Edicts Liminal, it's up to level 2, so I'm going to need 1 Knock, 1 Moth. Well, I mean, that's going to knock me out for memories. We're not going to get that much cataloged when all is said and done. Well, that's fine, because then that just frees us up a little bit in terms of the Arab. So, let's leave the core aside. We'll employ the Shapt. Let's get an Impulse. So I'm going to try the Shadow in the Stare just to make sure that that is in fact an Impulse. And it may not actually be... No, Ava's Desk will let me... So by your marks you shall know them will give me the pattern that I need. Okay. So I'll probably say let's abandon the Sickle and Eclipse research for today. But we'll see. And I may wind up using the core to get another blue crown, just because Solomon's preparation will wind up being very useful for me. This is kind of what I talk about when I say like having an extra element of the soul is nice for actions, but in the end, the number of things you want to do will just grow to eat up what's available. So you're always going to feel constrained. I try not to put too much weight on. I try not to put too much weight on just being able to do more in general, because that's, I mean, it's a game, right? If the game doesn't give you things to do, then probably it hasn't quite accomplished what it set out to do. Okay, so there's the pattern for Edicts Liminal. Here is the impulse for Edicts Liminal. We'll be able to level that. Actually, let's just level that up now. So we're going to use the FET for that one. I'm no expert, but I'm no dabbler either. Here's the contradiction for our reading, so we'll do that now. So this will be for... Wait a minute. Did I? Oh, how much you want to bet that's covered? Yeah, covered by the timer. All right, Soul's Labors. Some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. So we put our enhanced Arab in there. We put the contradiction. We will attach the Cucurbit Barrette. Now, it did just occur to me, one of the main reasons why we want to level up Sickle and Eclipse is so that we can go even further down the edge path, because that will give us access to 7 shards, as well as probably not the wound wounds. That seems to be a bit ambitious. Surely we have another high-level edge text, though. Maybe I'm wrong on that. In any case, doesn't hurt to put a little bit extra in there. So I can master this mystery, enough edge to master mystery edge. Okay, so I guess the time has come. Like, do I really want to try for another skill to be leveled up today, or do I want to use these elements of the soul for cataloging? And to be honest with you, I am much more inclined towards cataloging at this point. I'm actually also slightly tempted to make some tea, but that's not as big of a priority right now. The one thing I will do, though, is I am actually going to wait out part of the day so that we can level up, or sorry, so we can read the existing books. There's 2 big reasons for that. Number one, on the odd chance that there happens to be so let's say that I read a book and it gives me a memory that winds up being helpful, or it's a skill that I want to level up quickly. Like, I'm preserving the option in that sense. The other big reason is that I am ultimately going to want to to study these books one at a time. If I wind up getting a malady, I do actually want to cure that relatively early. So generally just kind of getting things done, even if it takes a longer time, just taking it in order will preserve options, as well as give me a bit of peace of mind in terms of my overall health. So the skill is now level 3. Its power aspects have also increased. I may want to consider the Serenity of the Blackwood. I think we're still short on that one, so we can bring 2 moth, 3 with the shears, 7, I guess, with the edicts. I feel like we should be able to do a little bit better than we actually are, but I'm not going to... I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on some of the different paths we can go down on that, just because there's this kind of low-hanging fruit for us to deal with first. Okay, the Annals of St. Brendan's, over 100 years of the Abbey's Annals, from 1230 to 1350. 3 events of particular interest are recorded: an endowment by Ava de Braus, widow of the Marcher Lord Gwilym Du, Black William, which enables an expansion of the abbey, the construction of the Winter Tower, which is dedicated to the Madrigad, and the death by poisoning of arts unsanctioned of Abbess Nona. After Abbess Nona's death, the double foundation is resolved and the monastery is reformed to only accept male novices. At this point, the ink changes. The helpful scribe explains that for the new foundation, the abbot has mandated Stargall, not Ugal ink. He outlines the differences, use of inks of containment techniques with a sky, not nectar context, but doesn't trouble to explain why. This is the sort of thing I'd like normally I'd take out my notebook and make a note here, because I don't believe I've actually read this one yet, but I don't want to spend too much time on things that'll take me away from the recording. Okay, so we'll definitely read Inks of Containment. Use this lesson to acquire a new skill. So Regret gives us Forge and Winter. Right now, that's not relevant for Sickle and Eclipse, but we don't know what's coming out the other end of the rest of our reading. I've misplaced my work. Oh, hang on, it's the flowers. All right, again, I'm running out of place to put all my... I guess we'll put that back in the map room. I do need to make a decision if I'm going to use this core for more blue crown. That didn't work. Okay. So I've got one more minute before we finish the Tantra. I'm going to go for cataloging. Let's file it in. Let's maybe go for the Tryst first, then the Arab, then the core. Because I'll be able to sort of preserve the core for other... Actually, the Tryst is relevant. Well, so is the Arab. Okay, yeah, no, we'll use the Tryst. Although I do need to find a relevant desk. Let's use that Stray book first. So this book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Solar Gothic period, roughly between the 1000s and 1500s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Actually, Inks of Containment's not a bad one for me to pick up. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, it's something I can make Solomon's Preparation with, but number two, that will be helpful for the construction of an ink for the bridge. I think we've already been able to make one, but it just gives me another... It gives me something that I kind of know will give me an ink, I guess. So, the inks in which the histories are preserved. Okay, now I have an idea of this book's nature and its content. So this one is actually infested, witchworms, tiny larvae with half-human faces. Fortunately, they rarely develop into their imago stage. But even as larvae, their whispering can torment senses and distort thoughts. These can affect your shapt and whist and spread to nearby objects. You can remove them with a skill that's effective against infestations in at least 7 winters. So you are going to go into quarantine. It's 12 edge text, though, so it's the sort of thing we would like to read sooner rather than later. Okay, and we will carry on. So, I mean, time to make a decision. Do I want to use this core or not? I'm going to settle for not using the core. Again, I kind of have this feeling that cataloging the books gives me the... Well, okay, so maybe here's the way to think about it. Uncatalogued books are sort of untapped potential, right? So this could be something that can crack open the problems. It may allow you to level up a skill that you sort of need to be able to read. So for instance, if I can get a little bit of extra nectar, let's say through drums and dances, you know, that will potentially allow me to read a couple more nectar texts. And then that itself may open some further opportunities. But as uncatalogued books, they do nothing for me. So if I compare that to, say, opening up one of these boxes, which might give me an item that I need, or opening up a room. Well, opening up a room, what does that get me? Well, that gets me uncatalogued books. So the uncatalogued books, of course, are something that, again, are potentially very useful, but they do actually need that potential unlocked. So that's kind of why I'm a little more comfortable using these elements of the soul to open to catalog certain books, even if it means that maybe I'm short one blue crown later on. I think we have enough now that I'll be able to build a couple of Solomon's preparations to get us through. Now, this whole story would change if we had like a snowy day. That's different because that's sort of weather based. That's going to be something separate, but still, it's those are fairly rare circumstances. Oriflams, thanks you for your continued interest. Okay, so we've been reading the Leonine Tantra. Please tell me that went back to the right spot. Good. The Tantra describes elliptically the great hooded princes and their multitudinous ways in which they influenced... hang on. That's not the right reading. The most notorious translation of the Leonine Tantra, Ashley Phillips, is listed as the translator, but their existence is explicitly denied in the prologue. This confusion is characteristic of books which mention the great hooded princes. The Tantra describes elliptically the great hooded princes and the multitudinous ways in which they influenced wars against foreign invaders of the land of the Great River, although, in a sense, they were also invaders. Lions can be created, not as children are created, nor as words are created, but as weapons are created. Great hooded princes learnt to create lions from their spyings on the affairs of the hours, and not all lions now serve the Golden General. So, a couple edicts martial. This has turned out to be a really helpful one, and fear, so we know where that one goes. I do like this filing system. Although I have a feeling I'm going to have to change some of the shelves as time goes by. Okay, so the fear... this is a little bit of a shame. Because I can see situations in which... Actually, you know what? No, we'll still be able to level up Edicts Martial, so this still helps me. So use this lesson to acquire a new skill. We'll move Furs and Feathers down... So we won't catalog a book with the final Arab, but we will boost up Edicts Martial. Now I have an idea of this book's nature and its contents. This is a deep Mandaic text, which we can read in terms of language, but it's definitely beyond my abilities. So this is my deeds, my powers, my achievements, and the injustices perpetrated against me. A diatribe by Hokabald Aposend, formerly of the Order of Immortals called the House of Leith, later the Order Lemaire, and much later the Obliviates. He has scores to settle. I believe this is the one that gets called Big Huff in the Cultist Simulator files, but not the Book of Hours files. Alright, another leaf on the Tree of Wisdoms. Okay, not a bad day. Let's think about some next steps. So Sickle and Eclipse it's just kind of sitting on the periphery right now. I probably should take a minute here to organize the most likely texts to be read. Okay, the skill is now level 2. Its power aspects have also increased. Okay, so Etery After, we're short on that one for sure. So the hissing key, well, if the hissing key works, Rokshas works. So the reason that doesn't work is we have one nectar from the health, one nectar from the cake, or the kitchen bowls, we would maybe get 2 from a memory. So that brings us 4, and drums and dances would bring us up to 6. But we need 8 for either of those texts. Also, these are scale, not... but you can make the exact same argument. We just change to hill and hollow. Okay, de ratio quercum. Yeah, so that's the green jasper tablet all over again. So effectively, it's the same story as scale. So we don't need to spend too much time thinking about that. Ambrosial. So we get 2 from the metal. We get 2 from foresight. We get 1 from, let's say, spanners. Although we've got plenty of forge-oriented tools, so we have our pick. And I guess the only real forge that I would have here would be transformations and liberations. So that's also 2. So that seems to me like we can get up to 7. Now those aren't terrible odds. Maybe I will put ambrosial on the list here. But it's not the sort of thing I would... It's not like a last resort. Sorry, that's a little bit closer to like a last resort rather than a specific goal. Well, we can wait for the weather, but... Wound wounds. Okay, clouds doesn't... Actually, clouds will help me with leveling up sickle and eclipse, though. So, Etery after we've got 2 for the... I think we've gone over this one a couple of times, but we've got 2 for the Whist. We've now got Inks of Containment as well as Rhyme and Remembrance, which would give me the extra winter. So either of those bring me up to 2... sorry, we've got 2 and 4, and then we can get up to 6 with a memory, but we're still short. Chandler's Wish, unless we have a better example of Lantern. I feel like we have a lesser. Yeah, Light in the Inkwell. Okay, so Faust is 2. We don't really have any Rockstar Lantern skills yet. Yeah, so that's another one where basically we can pull out 6 and we're stopped there. For the radical measure, I'm also ignoring whatever I can potentially generate through crafting. I shouldn't be doing that. That's something that that I'll need to think about later. If we can do ambrosial, we can also do the incandescent tantra. Okay, Serenity of the Blackwood I want to take a minute to think about because we've got 2 Moth that we can work with Trist. With Edicts Liminal, we're now up to 4, so that gives me 6, and then Impulse gives me 8, then we move up to 9 with the Shears, but that's still not even remotely close to what we need for Serenity of the Blackwood, so no luck there. I think it's a similar story with Knock, but let's just double check that. So we've got 2 from the Shapt, 3 from Edicts Liminal, so that brings me up to 5. We don't have a tool. So yeah, unless I can bring some kind of an ink, we can muster up to 7. That's definitely not... Well, okay. Cardé's Delights isn't necessarily... Like, so the tricky part in this one is, right, we've got the Shop, we've got the Edicts Liminal, and we've got the Pattern. So that's 7. And then we would basically rely on getting something that would require extra knock from us. So it's a little bit like Ambrosial and the Incandescent Tantra in that we have a shot, but they're not the ones we want to take until we've gotten rid of the sort of stuff. Well, actually, I guess we have gotten rid of the sort of stuff that's a guarantee. So, all right. So I think I know what I'm doing for the next episode. It would seem to me the best course of action would first be to kind of clean up what's on my plate. So we get rid of the uncatalogued books. I consider maybe taking someone to, open up one of these areas. I think probably the Despoiled Laboratory is the most likely. So we get Mr. Kill. They start with 2. We can boost them up to 4 with a memory. And I guess I would just pay with the Whist to get them up to 6. Rather not spend the money, but I don't see a better way of doing it. So that'll give me access to a few books, also potentially some memories. And maybe we will open up all of the different boxes before I start going too heavy on any of the other next steps. Oh yeah, and then I'll do the gardening and such. But yeah, no, I think I have a pretty good idea of how the day is going to go. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and we will open up some new rooms and read some more books in the next one. Until then, take care.